Frank Franklin to New York City, the saves king savored the moment. Still svelte, as if at 49 years old he still could be counted on in the ninth inning. Yankees legend and retired closer Mariano Rivera slipped on the only jersey he'd ever wear that wasn't in pinstripes, a tan Hall of Fame uniform, one of his last acts before he's enshrined in Cooperstown next year. Then he smiled and looked out into the crowd, a grin played over and over on TV screens throughout Rivera's 19-year career, thanks to his dominance. Rivera was announced as one of the 4 newest members of the museum in Cooperstown at the St. Regis in Manhattan on Wednesday. He was joined on the dais by fellow inductees Edgar Martinez and Mike Mussina, another ex-Yankee. The late Roy Halladay was represented by his family. Rivera was inducted as the first unanimous pick Tuesday. Here are our biggest takeaways from Rivera. Isn't exactly excited about the state of the game. Mussina explained why he wasn't thrilled with the state of baseball, while breaking down that he wants starters to pitch more innings and lamenting the lowered opportunities for starters to win games. Rivera smiled and looked at Mussina. "I'm not sure I love the way it's changed lately," Mussina said, "but that's just the nature of it. As a starter, if you can't get deep in games, you lose opportunities to win games. You won't pitch as many innings, there's a whole list of things that happen. As a starter, I'm not a huge fan of the way it's going, but I'm not the one making the decisions. I'm an old guy now who just played a handful of years ago. That's just my opinion. We can talk a long time about how the game is changing. I agree with Moose," Rivera said. "He's the man. He said it." Rivera didn't want to elaborate clearly, but it was obvious he shared Mussina's sentiment. The most difficult time in Rivera's career for Rivera, the minor leagues were difficult. Not because he was learning the game. Not because he was so far away from home. But because of the language barrier. He said it hit him in his second professional season that he really couldn't communicate with anyone. And it led to tears. "For me, it was a little different, coming from Panama," Rivera said. "I didn't know no English. I remember in my second year as a professional, I used to lay in bed. For a few days, I was crying. Not because of the game, to me, was easier than I expected. Just the communication factor. I couldn't speak to my manager or pitching coach. Baseball language on the field, we all know that. You speak English or whatever language you speak. But when it comes to communication when you don't speak those languages, you're in trouble. That was me. The minor leagues shaped me. After I learned the language, the game was a little bit easier." Rivera's response to Martinez owning him. Bill Castrun, AP. Rivera's response to Martinez owning him. In an interesting coincidence, Martinez was one of the most successful hitters of all time against Rivera, going 11 for 19.579, with 2 homers and 3 doubles versus the closer. So, Rivera felt Martinez owed him for helping pad his Hoff stats. "Edgar has to take me to dinner," Rivera said. "Maybe tomorrow. One of these days. Because of me, his average was better. Therefore, you owe me dinner." On what it was like facing Martinez. Rivera, "Edgar was tough. That's one of the guys. Especially in my first few years, I didn't wait to see Edgar in a tough situation. I used to tell former Yankees manager Joe Torre, if you bring in Paul O'Neill right behind second base, we might get him out, because that was the hole we were leaving. When you face a hitter the type of hitter that Edgar was, you had to really bring your game or he would have you for breakfast, lunch and dinner."